is understanding the concept of urban resilience. It encapsulates a city's capacity to manage, resist, recover from, and adapt to various stressors, be they economic, environmental, or social in nature. We imagine a city as a living organism, an interconnected ecosystem of infrastructural, social, economic, and ecological systems. Each of these systems must be robust and resilient and capable of absorbing shocks, self-organizing, learning, and adapting to these challenges. The resilience of these individual systems contribute to the overarching resilience of a city. Heeding the wisdom of philosopher and economist Amartya Sen, development to us is freedom, freedom from want and freedom from hunger. Our initiatives at the Egyptian Food Bank embody this philosophy, aiming to empower our beneficiaries with resilience to withstand and bounce back from various stressors. In Egypt, and this is one of the most it's my pride and joy, this initiative specifically, because we will start now with talking a little bit about what we do for economic resilience, which is like a black box. Until now, the Egyptian Food Bank, people still think that we are one huge supermarket that gets out food boxes every day flying all over Egypt. But in the area of economic resilience, we'll start talking about the agriculture sector in Egypt. Agriculture in Egypt employs about 30% of our workforce and provides livelihoods for around 60% of our population. The backbone of this sector is smallholder farmers, who constitute 80% of the agriculture workforce. However, these farmers, as of course you all know, face multiple challenges in Egypt, as in many parts of the world. To me, the chief of these challenges is land fragmentation, which is a result of, I would say, very good intentioned equity policy in the past, and inheritance practices that divided farmlands into smaller and smaller plots over generation. This fragmentation reduced the efficiency of farming operation, hindered any form of mechanization that they could have done, and makes it very hard for them to adopt any modern farming techniques. Also, smallholder farmers often lack access to affordable credit, which limits their ability to invest in their farms. And of course, climate change poses significant challenges to these farmers. Rising temperature, irregular rainfall patterns, and increasing salinity of the Nile due to sea level rises has affected already their crop yields. And we have also, I think we've all seen the crops of watermelons and mangoes these years. They didn't taste the same. And last season, it almost wiped out completely, specifically the temperature fluctuations and variations. It almost wiped out completely our crops for olives and for mangoes too. These climate-related challenges are particularly acute for farmers who rely on traditional farming methods and lack the resources to adapt. Also, smallholder farmers also often struggle to find reliable markets for their produce. They may lack access to up-to-date market information, which always results in them selling their crops at lower prices. Additionally, inadequate storage and transportation facilities can lead to significant post-harvest losses. I think in Egypt, it's almost 40% of the losses at the farm level. Addressing these challenges requires a multifaceted approach that includes policy changes, financial support, and capacity building for smallholder farmers. Recognizing all these challenges, our strategy at the Egyptian Food Bank is designed to bolster economic resilience among those farmers. We aim over 3 years to procure 80% of our food directly from those farmers, which equates to around 1 billion Egyptian pounds a year. We see that as a very prudent channel for Zakah funds. We are a Zakah operator mainly. More than 90% of our funds come from Zakah, from Egyptians and from all over the world. So we aim to turn people to productive members of the society in this approach and graduate them from subsistence levels to effectiveness, where they employ more people with them and advance their own lives and the lives of others. Beyond procurement, we also offer extension services and subsidized agriculture inputs. We help those farmers consolidate their fragmented lands into cooperative clusters. And also, we try as much as we can to utilize technology in that. We partner with Egyptian private sector firms who are specialized in that approach. but they do it for profit purposes, and we do exactly the same, but for social purposes. Moving to people who are unable to work in Egypt, and they are millions, our efforts go beyond economic resilience and environmental stewardship. We also committed to fostering social resilience among our beneficiaries through an innovative and just launched model called, we call it the mini supermarket, but it's actually a pantry model. This model imparts a sense of dignity to our beneficiaries, giving them control over their lives and a buffer against economic uncertainties. In that model, which started first with our own staff at the Egyptian Food Bank, and then it moved to the field level, instead of giving food boxes, we give the beneficiaries points, and each point equate to a certain item of foods that they usually consume. For example, let's say that a liter of oil is equal 2 points, so it will always equal 2 points. No matter what inflation does to the price of oil, it's always 2 points. This gives dignity to the people, gives them choice, gives them freedom to take whatever they want. And we're currently partnering with IFPRI to do a randomized control trial for this model to see if it indeed will be more cost effective and will be kinder to the lives of people in providing food support. And if it proves indeed that it's better than the usual food box model, we plan to scale it up, I think by next year, to the current base of over 100,000 families that we serve monthly. But of course, there will be some exceptions in the food deserts, mainly in governorates like El Wadi al-Jadid or in Sinai, where it might not be very feasible to adopt this supermarket model. We'll still deliver boxes. Last but not least, urban resilience to us is not just about how a city responds to an immediate crisis. It is also about how it prepares for the future, investing in the well-being, education, and development of its people, particularly its youngest ones. In this context, our school and nursery feeding program play a pivotal role. We serve now approximately 40,000 children each and every day with hot meal in the school or in the nursery. The nurseries, of course, that are operated by the Ministry of Social Solidarity. The impact of this program goes, to us at least, beyond the immediate provision of food. It's an integral part of a strategic long-term approach to enhancing urban resilience. Children are the future of our cities, and their ability to contribute positively to urban resilience depend largely on their health and education. By providing balanced meals, we're ensuring that children have the nutrients they need to grow, learn, and thrive. The investment in their health and cognitive development today is an investment in the resilience of our cities tomorrow. Well-nourished children are better equipped to succeed in school, more likely to grow into healthy adults, and ultimately more capable of contributing to the social and economic fabric of resilient urban communities. Our school and nursery feeding program also includes extensive nutrition education for children, their mothers, and their educators. These initiatives are about empowering individuals and communities with knowledge, fostering long-term changes in attitudes and behaviors around food and nutrition. Beyond the immediate benefits to the children we serve, our feeding programs also have broader societal implications. They increase school enrollment and attendance and contribute positively to educational outcomes, particularly among girls and children from low-income families. By providing a daily meal, we remove one of the barriers to education, contributing to a more educated and therefore more resilient future population. Our commitment to these feeding programs is a testament to our understanding of urban resilience as a comprehensive, multifaceted approach. It's not just about infrastructure or climate change or economic strength. It's also about health, education, and social stability. It's also about investing in children, which are indeed the future of our cities. As we look ahead, we are eager to expand these initiatives, serving more children and making an even bigger impact on urban resilience. We envision a future where every child in Egypt not only has access to nutritious food, but is also equipped with the knowledge and opportunities to contribute positively to their communities. And finally, as we strive towards our goals, we understand the significance of utilizing evidence to guide our actions. We believe in standing on the shoulders of giants, learning from past experiences, and leveraging data to inform our decisions. And our commitment to evidence-based decision-making, as deep as it is very far from being dogmatic. We aim to run evaluations for everything that we do, utilizing a very flexible approach to methodologies ranging from qualitative reviews all the way up to a very rigorous, proper randomized control trial. This approach ensures a practical way to ensure our actions are based on evidence, minimizing the risk of repeating past mistakes, and also minimizing the risk of celebrating false achievements. The cost effectiveness of our initiatives is imperative when building resilience. We cannot afford to hit the null hypothesis without proof that what we do indeed adds value. Therefore, by conducting comprehensive evaluations, we ensure that our resources are utilized most effectively and that our interventions yield the desired outcomes. Our journey is ambitious and challenging, but it's also filled with hope and potential. We are guided by a vision of a more resilient future, a future where every city can withstand, recover, and thrive amidst the unexpected. Thank you, everyone, and I'm open to any questions. Of course, it was a great opportunity to introduce what we do at the Egyptian Food Bank. Probably that's what you came to hear today. But I understand, of course, what Professor Hassan went through. I was just in Riyadh for a conference also about climate change, and I had the same problem as he had. I understand that these things happen, and I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohsen.
Maybe I'll start. I'm not an expert in farming, but a few years back I took part in a EU-funded project on organic farming, and I've been wondering, listening to your very informative presentation. So that's it's a like question. How does organic farming relate to climate change? Is it a solution or it's a total blind track? And is organic farming an aim for farmers in Egypt? So.
Okay, I'll first talk within my perspective, and then I might talk a little bit on a national level or a more generalized approach. From our perspective at the food bank, it is in a blind spot for us intentionally. Our approach to contract farming or empowering farmers in general is based on us as buyers. And this comes from a belief that I had that many economic empowerment programs, specifically targeting the ultra-poor communities, they fail because we envision that if we just help them with credit, with mentoring, things like that, they will make it on their own, but they don't. Because they mainly lack access to market and understanding of market, and they also, most importantly, lack psychological resilience to go on their own. If we start with the market first, meaning the buyer first, everything falls into place. This is based on multiple failures that I have encountered over my career. And if you see it working, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. If there is a strong buyer, socially flavored buyer that is committed to get whatever these guys get out of the field, everything falls into place. For example, our experience at the food bank, we don't just buy at market prices, we sometimes buy above market price. So we give people, if they comply with the extension services, we give them, if they indeed want to help themselves, we give them incentives for every percentage change in the yield over the average yield for that crop in Egypt. Yeah, for example, let's say potatoes, 3 ton per faddan. If they get 3.2 ton, we give them 20% over market price. Of course, I'm trying to simplify what we did, but it's a formula. It's a very complex formula that we adopt. Organic farming, it's not on our radar because we are or have to operate on a national level, and we have to squeeze. Of course, specifically in food prices, I think the government has published it clocked over 70% inflation. Yeah, it was 39%, the core inflation index. Out of it, the biggest contributor was food prices. So it was, I think, 71%, but that's only over the past year. If we take that inflation index over a year and a half, it will exceed 200%. And our donations cannot keep up. Last year, I think we made 60% year over year in donations, which is fantastic. But the food prices have increased 300%. How to keep working? You have to keep being very creative in your procurement. For example, last thing we did, the food boxes, we're trying to kill it. We're replacing it now with packages like Amazon. So we've been in R&D for over a year now to try to come up with a solution that is unbreakable and can be stacked in trucks and stuff like that, because the carton itself has reached around 12 pounds. The carton is like 5% or 10% of the total costs of the box. So we switched to organic is not on our radar. Please, sorry, the gentleman.
Hi. So thank you so much for the condensed speech. The Dutch Egyptian Agriculture Network released a report, I think yesterday. It's a case study on cooling for the agriculture sector. The challenges, the business opportunities, and as you said, there is a major problem of waste of produce, of spoilage, especially with climate change, with resistance of heat waves. A lot of the produce gets lost before it reaches the customer. So would there be possibilities for investment in that area? That's my first question. My second question related to urban farming. So you see during World War I and World War II, there have been this concept of victory gardens. So, and currently in Europe, you see, and in Germany, there is this allotment system. So basically people could apply to get vacant spots around the city as community gardens for production of veggies, for fruits. So they could contribute to food production and self-sustenance in an urban setting. So currently, if we look at many Egyptian cities, there are on and off ban on building by the government, because they say there is a lot of informal licensing for construction. So there are, in a couple of Egyptian cities, there's a ban on construction. And this leads to a lot of vacant plots to be around the city. So is there a possibility for renting out those spaces and allotting them to people for growing their own crops? And also, there have been this model of Egyptian households, especially Egyptian women, to recycle the food scraps at home by feeding poultry. Currently, with the increase of prices of feed, this has been diminished. So is there a possibility also for the food bank to support poor and low-income families through feed endorsements to revive this again? It's a major access for nutrition and protein. Thank you.
I wish I had brought a pen with me, but I'll try to remember. I think there are 3 questions. Okay, first, the cold chain storage. We are very interested in this, but it's a very huge investment. We cannot do it on our own as a food bank, but we have submitted multiple proposals to multiple donor agencies to try and implement a robust system of cold chain storage. But we cannot do it on our own, and it is imperative. Regarding urban farming, we are very interested in that approach. We're trying to implement a model now in Al Asmarat, which is a new city that's built to accommodate people from Azbat Khairallah and endangered communities in Cairo. We've been lucky there because no one owns the roof. The roof is owned by the government. But this is actually the main problem in implementing urban farming, because in most places in Cairo, people live on the roof or they utilize it for different reasons. So there isn't enough space to actually do an aquaponic or hydroponic operation there. But above all, and you have said it within your words, it is not economically feasible. It can only provide some of the food requirements of the family that does the roof farm. It is not very economically feasible, but in Asmarat, we will try to do it just to feed some of to provide some of the dietary requirements of the families that are living in that building. The question if we can rent out places, I think Dr. Laila will be much more suited to, to answer that more than me, but the short answer is probably not. Something like that is not going to happen. I think we should start with having some public spaces in order to sit even, or to, without being harassed or without a food stall, someone trying to sell you something, and then we can move to renting spaces for for farms. So I think it's a couple of steps too early for that. I'm trying to be realistic. What was the third one? I'm sorry. Okay, I've been interested in that for quite some time now, and I was doing a lot of research on types of machinery that can bring me closer to that. The technology that is happening with very few exceptions around the world now can only turn food waste into compost. But turning food waste into animal feed, it's very complicated. There are 2 startups around the world that does that, and we are in contact with both. They're both using some form of insects to digest the waste and turn it into something through a very complex industrial operation that turns it into animal feed. But in order to use directly the waste in feeding chicken, this is wrong. They do that and it works for them, but it cannot work for us in the type of procurement that we do. I urge everyone in that room, please, if you have contacts or if you learn of a technology, because in Egypt, if we find something that can turn food waste at homes into something that can we use, it's a breakthrough. It will be a breakthrough. I hope you can reach that in the Egyptian Food Bank soon. Thank you.
All right.
The lady. Okay.
It's okay. It's all right. So still on again farming, I guess. You mentioned the inefficiencies of.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure.
Sorry.
You mentioned the inefficiencies.
Introduce yourself.
I'll introduce myself. Sorry. Sharwat Alwan. I'm associate professor here of supply chain management at the American University in Cairo School of Business. زميلة علي. So, given the inefficiencies you highlighted for smallholder farmers, and your suggestion to source and supply in the same area are benefiting of taking from and giving back to, what kind of policy changes do you see? What kind of challenges is it seems to me very hard to do given the policies that guide and the fairness and equity of what you're going to do. So is there any practical research or pilots trying to work for that? And what you're going to do about the perishability of some, smallholder farmer output, and how do you distribute it fairly?
Sorry, what was the last part of the question?
When you say smallholder farmers, when it comes to grains and stuff, are you talking about that, the commodities?
Yes.
While are you talking about fresh? I don't know if you even
mainly commodities.
Mainly commodities.
Mainly commodities.
All right. So then I'm interested.
Okay, first let's talk about policies. Policies, of course, everyone knows that they are as good as their implementation. We have very good set of policies here in Egypt, and some very bad ones. But it's always a problem of implementation. With the type of land fragmentation that we have in Egypt, and I know there are multiple attempts now on doing land consolidation. It's very hard. It's very hard. What we do and the successes. So I was telling you, we have a target of 80% across the years. Now we have reached approximately 25%, and we've done it mainly through technology. With a private sector partner, a company, a very innovative partner called Mozera, because they do it for profit. So they're very adamant in making it work. And they have a huge workforce of agriculture experts that are from the local communities, and they just keep around going on farmers day over day. So we were able to make it work. On a national scale, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It needs a very strong push, again, from buyers. I envision, in a very optimistic scenario, if Tamween the Ministry of Supply, decided to adopt that approach. And instead of buying from, but again, when they adopt that approach, they try to set a price cap which has expired in economics since Thomas Malthus, before the Industrial Revolution. I don't know if someone knows that. He was called the Black Priest because he envisioned that the world will end because of food supply and population growing over food supply. And this notion ended with him. This notion actually ended with him putting price caps and stuff like that. You can put price cap in a compound, but you cannot put it in a country. It's a myth. As long as these types of policies are going, I don't think anything. I hope this session is not recorded. As long as
no, that's exactly my point. I don't see it happening given the mandate what you're doing does not fit with the description. That's why I was very intrigued.
Again, what I advise myself and advise everyone working with me at the food bank is that we focus on a very micro level. So we pretend that the food bank is like a box housing us inside, and we do not think of anything outside it. We try to do successes under our own jurisdiction. But in order to think on something that can happen on a national scale, in this area particularly, it is very challenging. It is very challenging. It is very challenging.
That was my thoughts too. Thank you for. So you believe in the best private sector in mobile, and your answer a couple of times all had to do with market and private.
Yeah, there are a couple of very, very successful initiatives here. One of them is my PepsiCo, and it was my inspiration. It was a program with PepsiCo and CARE, and I think, and the USAID, of course. We are partnering with the USAID in one of our initiatives in Aswan and Qina in dates. And this year, we secured all of our date requirements from smallholder farmers in Aswan and Qina in collaboration with the USAID. PepsiCo, I don't know how much of their requirements for Shipsy they have procured exactly, but I think it's a considerable amount. And there was also a very successful experiment by Farm Fritz, American, the same reason. I think it has to start from there.
Policy, that's a room for policy improvement, Bardo, dealing with that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I have a question there?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm Farah Shukri, a PhD student at the Environmental Engineering program here. My question is more of curiosity questions on the operations of the food bank. Between procuring the raw material and delivering the boxes, does the in-house kitchen, is it owned by the food bank or is it outsourced? And the second question is the percentage of food being supplied by large-scale hotels, for example, or the food excess from large-scale facilities.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Very good question. You mean by the kitchen for the hot meals, or you mean like the back office in general? So we are based in New Cairo, in 3rd New Cairo. That's our main office. There are around 400 people there from a head count of approximately 1,200 people. We have around 350 cooks. They work in around 23 kitchens spread all over Egypt. And then we have a dairy farm in Bahira. It has around 200 people there also. So most of our operations is managed and owned by us, except for the distribution part. So we distribute through a network of CDAs on the community level, more than 5,000 CDAs, and they are our interface with the beneficiaries. Even when we're doing targeting, we adopt a two-pronged approach to targeting. So first, there is a community-based targeting where those CDAs, they qualify beneficiaries to us. And then through our research team, we implement, it's called the Archive Foster. It's a PMT scoring methodology, so we can sort these beneficiaries and get the ones that are the most worthy of our service, because we will not be able to serve everyone that is qualified by the community. And these CDAs, they work on our computer systems. So if they want to log a case, they will have to access my CRM. And also, if they will do any research, it will be reflected on my database momentarily. Does that answer your question? The first part of it? What was the second part? I have very spotty memory. Hotels and restaurants, that was the start of the food bank 20 years ago. It started on that notion, to get the excess of food from hotels and restaurants. But now they have got, each year they get smarter and smarter. Now it's negligible, almost negligible. It's nothing. Because we cannot touch anything that has crossed the tray. So if it leaves the invisible, edge of the tray, it's done for us. We cannot touch it. We can touch only what's untouched in the tray. That's only what we can pack and give to other people. And hotels are getting very smart in this, in getting smart in their supply chain. They're minimizing their waste, and restaurants too. So in the past, we used to send trucks to collect, for example, bakery that's about to expire. We found ourselves moving in a truck to get like 2 or 3 croissants. It didn't make sense anymore. It didn't make sense anymore. So now it's all a formal supply chain operation, contract farming, huge private sector suppliers on a very long contracts, and we usually fix prices also for several months ahead. That's it.
Do you have more question here?
It was such a great pleasure to listen to you, and I think you said quite a lot of intriguing things. And one of the things that caught my attention was the feeding program, and mainly because we have a feeding program in Nairobi as well. Oh, my name is Beatrice, I'm from Nairobi, I'm an urban planner, PhD researcher as well. And the government initiated a program called Dish in a County, which basically means feeding with the county government. And my question was really related to how you engage the people. You answered that, but I'm also concerned about how you engage the government. In my context, at least, food security is a national government responsibility.
Yes.
So now I want to understand the context in your case. Whose responsibility is it, and how do you come in as a non-profit to engage with who is delegated that responsibility officially, whether it's the government or...
It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. So we work in tandem with the government. Of course, you said it quite right. The government is the ultimate entity responsible for food security. And it does provide a very wide network, a very wide social safety network. And we have programs like Tamween, for example. Almost, I think, close to 80% of the population is enrolled. And you have a program called Takaful wa Karama. It's conditional and unconditional cash transfer program. You have, I think, more than 5 million families enrolled. So what we do is complement, because the government has the same problem that we do, but on a much larger scale. So they cannot withdraw, they cannot phase out from these programs. They have to stay in it, and they have to still keep serving the people month after month, year after year. And our allocation for these programs are not growing to offset the inflation that's happening in food prices, and to offset the inflation that is happening to the value of even the cash transfers. So what we do, again, is complement. The government is very welcoming of our support. I have to say, with all honesty, there hasn't been any time in the non-profit world to work easier than this time. All the doors are open for us because we need each other. We need the government for protection and to provide a legal umbrella for what we do, and we need the government for data. And we need the government sometimes also for funding. So the Ministry of Social Solidarity, they outsource a lot of things to us at the food bank specifically, and to the sector as a whole. I do not care if my beneficiaries take services from the government or from anywhere else. Duplication is not a concern to me, because what I care about is a baseline. I take a baseline for the family I serve, and this baseline takes into account all the services they are getting, either from the government or from other nonprofits. Because we always hear that you give these people food boxes and another nonprofit gives them food boxes. It's fine, they're still poor. If they qualify within my criteria, which is very stringent, then they deserve that. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Thank you so much, Mohsen,
Sure,
for sharing very insightful thoughts.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you. And thank you for the great work that you guys are doing at the food bank, and thanks to everybody for their questions. We have a lunch break now. It's coffee break. Okay, it's coffee break. Thank you.